Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. My name is David Petrangelo, and I'll be one of your hosts into this week's journey of all things video games. And this week, it is just Steve Vigvari and myself. Steve, how are you? We are doing a little bit of a earlier recording. I have my coffee with me, which I can't normally have because
I know,
because typically we're in the evening and I don't want to stay up till 4 a.m. Or do I? That's my long introduction. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing really good, man. Yeah, no, it was so funny. You nailed it on the head. Like I was making my coffee right before we started. And I was like, I don't think we've done this show where the light's out. This is such a nice little treat. Yeah, I got my coffee. I'm not, on the brink of falling asleep, not because of the
company,
but because it's just been usually a long day. It's in the middle. Like we usually record on Wednesdays and everything. So yeah, this is a nice little refreshing treat. I appreciate the accommodation to kind of switch around the recording times, but this is going to be fun. A little mid-afternoon recording. It's fun.
A little mid-afternoon game talk. Why not?
That's it.
So we got a few things to talk about since we last recorded, since last week. I'm going to start a little bit with the RE4. I wrote Bonesaw demo because every time I see Chainsaw, I think of Bonesaw from Spider-Man. But I got you in the ring for 3 minutes. That's what I always thought of. I was hoping he was the one that was going to bust through the gate. But
oh my god!
It was not
just
him.
Wait. The mod community is going to be all over that. Once it comes to PC, guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly. There's already someone that has a Lego one out there. I don't know if you saw that in the last couple of days. Yeah. It looks like Lego Star Wars, but it's RE4. It's amazing. It's so cool.
I love that.
So I tried the demo after you gave it some pretty good praise last week. Like I've said in the past, Resident Evil is... I enjoy it, but it's never top of my list. I don't care about the lore. I don't care about the characters. Like, none of that stuff really interests me. I just want to play a decent thriller / horror game. Yeah. And RE4, I played, I think, most of on a friend's GameCube. I never owned a GameCube. I never had any like the re-releases. It was just like, oh, this is the slightly different action-ish type version at that time of Resident Evil. And then I played the 2 remake, which I really enjoyed. That was a great time. I played that sometime, I guess it was about 2 years ago now. But it's fun. I mean, it looks great. I love the way it looks. I think they did a great job with the presentation of it for sure. The gameplay is kind of what they did with the other remakes, from what I hear, at least in RE3. You're not stuck in one place, cemented to the ground every time you pull out your gun. I appreciate that. It's still slow, so you still do get a sense of that, and that's totally fine. I'm fine with all that. Like, you can't really like run and gun, but that's fine. That's not the type of gameplay that it is. And I thought it ran nicely. It played well. It was pretty difficult, or I suck at it. I don't know. It's one of the two, or both. But as far as I can tell, because I just told you before we hit record, I don't think there's any like I just played it this morning, so I didn't like go back into it. I just played through it the one time. You're not really supposed to like beat that part, are you? Are you supposed to die? Because I keep dying.
No, so you are intended to survive. That's beating it. Like you are
just that section there. Yeah,
exactly. So essentially how the demo ends is after a set period of time. I'm not really sure how long it is. There's a church in the little village area. The bells start ringing. Everyone kind of like drops their focus on Leon, goes into the church. Leon's like, ooh, I'll go with them for some reason. He's like, I guess I'll just go, and then walks in, and then the demo kind of ends. But
gotcha. Okay.
Since the demo came out, actually, some really fun stuff has started coming out. Like there's an ultra difficult mode that you can unlock. There are secret weapons that you can unlock as well that I think is pretty cool. For instance, there's like attack, like a submachine gun that you can get only by
that would be nice.
Dropping all your entire inventory before you get into the village itself. And then there's an area like you go in, you see like the pyre in the middle. there's a path like on the right side, and apparently
Oh, on the
there's a
right
well.
side. Ooh, I always went left.
Yeah, so on the right side, if you have your inventory, if you have your pistol, any kind of like
Yeah.
healing items or anything, it's closed. Like there's like, wood over it or anything. It's inaccessible. If you drop everything prior to getting into the village, it's open and you can kind of go down the ladder, and then there's like an SMG in there. I love that kind of stuff
Crazy.
where even in like a demo, Square
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
Capcom's like, "You know what? Let's just throw some cool little Easter eggs, some cool little incentives to bring you back."
Yeah.
I love that stuff. So,
Yeah. Cause there's always that kind of stuff like either written into these games or, built
mhm,
into these games, or like you said, the mod community kind of figures out a way to sort of do certain things, which harder to do on a demo for sure. But like what, like that's cool that but who even thinks of that?
I know, right?
Like to
Like,
try it. I
yeah,
understand that they programmed it in there, but to try it, I don't,
yeah.
was this something that was like maybe in the game previously in a similar area and someone thought of it? But I would never for a second be like, oh, I don't need my gun. I don't need my
Yeah.
gunpowder that I found. I don't need any of this.
Yeah,
Let's
what
see what
happens if I
happens.
just drop everything on the ground and then go into the most difficult area of the game?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see if we can break. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Resident Evil 4 to know if that was like a
Yeah.
pre-existing Easter egg or something like that. So maybe it is. I
Someone
don't
can
know.
tell us, yeah. But
Yeah.
also, I find it's kind of cool that I guess that opportunity sort of presents itself a little bit because, like you said, it doesn't really like end. Like there is a decent amount of time that you can just keep playing through
Right.
this horde. So like you can try things like that and see what happens. And the game's not going to be like, no, we don't let you do that because it's a demo. It kind of
Yeah.
does let you do whatever you want, and because there's a decent amount of the enemies there, you can experiment a little bit, which is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not very good at it. I didn't get to the church part, but I also only played. I died 3 times and that's it. So like
Okay.
I didn't go and explore too much. I just want to see what it was like. I want to see how it felt. I thought it was great. It definitely has me more interested, I would say, than before, which is exactly what a demo was supposed to do. So
That's it. Yeah.
um, so it's done its job. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's good.
Um,
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I
yeah,
know coming off of the demo myself, I'm eagerly anticipating the release of this game so I can
yeah,
actually, go through the whole thing. But again, going just back to how this demo like just exists within a bubble, I really appreciate the fact that, Capcom can look at this and be like, okay, this is going to be something that players are going to use to hold themselves off for 2-3 weeks until release. Let's just
yeah.
add little things in there like an ultra difficulty mode just to have people come back and play this. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and if those things are present in the demo, it gets people that do those types of things
Yeah.
more excited that that's going to be more of a possibility in the real like full release of the game, which is great. So, so that's kind of great. I'm going to, if anyone is listening to this, if you go to our YouTube page, I'm going to put up some of my gameplay as well. I recorded how bad I am at the game, so you can always look at that. I'm happy to share my terrible gameplay for games like this, so it's up there. So you can take a look at that. But elsewhere, I jumped back into my battle royale of choice, which seems to be sort of, it's strange how a battle royale can kind of be like a little bit of a comfort food in a way,
Mhm.
or sort of like a comfort game. But I really, really enjoy Apex Legends. I think I've mentioned it in the past that it's sort of mine of choice because of the type of gameplay it is. I like the system with the armor and the weapons and the add-on to the guns and everything. But I tried it briefly for about a week when the big update came out about a month ago, I would say,
Mhm.
roughly, where they took away arenas, they added in team deathmatch, and they have a new system for all the heroes where they basically have perks as opposed to just each individual hero having a small sort of passive ability in a way. So for example, there are some characters that will be able to go to beacons that will tell you where nearby enemies are, or certain chests will be red with only assault type characters able to open those, and they usually have extra add-ons for your weapons as
Right.
opposed to the blue ones, if anyone's played it before, where it would give you extra health or things like ammo or things like that, right? Excuse me. So those little things are kind of interesting. So that's more in the battle royale version of it. But team deathmatch is also something they've added in. They say it's permanent, at least for now. They said that about arenas a couple years ago, and now it's gone. So we'll see. They're the same maps, or slightly similar, or slightly altered maps of what was in arenas. If anyone has experience with that, and it is, man, now I want to say it's 6-on-6, I believe.
Okay.
It could be 5-on-5. That's terrible that I didn't even really pay attention to that. And the reason why that's not why it's fine, but also not great is because you can only queue with 2 other people, right? Because Apex is a 3-person
Right.
3-person team game. So you queue with 3 people and then you're queued with another random 3 to fill out the squad. And that's fine, I think, if you're playing solo, which is what I did with this over
Sure.
the last week. But if you're playing with friends and let's say you have 4 friends, you're like, ooh, there's team deathmatch. Let's all play together. Now you can't do that.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks. I wish they would maybe expand the team pool at least for team deathmatch. Just make it 4. I think that's healthy. But maybe
Right.
there's something about matchmaking. Maybe there's something about not having the right amount of people to fill the teams. I don't know what it is, but it plays really well. It's still the same
Good.
weapons, still the same heroes. I think it's a little bit more dynamic than what Arenas does, because Arenas would have a short match, everyone would be eliminated, and then you would start again and sort of buy your weapons and restart. I think it just felt like it slowed down the already fast pace of what Apex is.
Yeah.
And at least with Team Deathmatch, you respawn within, I think it's like 7 seconds, 8 seconds. Like, it's really quick. And you can
Okay.
change your loadout and stuff like that as you go. You can change your character as you go.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, which is fun too. So you can experiment a decent amount. And for the most part, it's been pretty good. I still like the game. I'm still really enjoying it. And I think now that I got in, I'm still the battle royale version of this. I think I prefer that for sure for Apex. I don't know why it just works better for me than deathmatch does, but the team deathmatch is pretty good. I think they've done
Yeah.
a good job with it so far, and like they've done in the past, sort of mid-season, they make tweaks to modes and to characters and things like that, and I would expect that that's going to be on its way for this too. But yeah, it's been a pretty
Sure.
good time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I've long dropped off Apex. I really like the core gameplay of it, the battle royale and everything. And in fact, I probably haven't played it since they've really overhauled a lot of their systems in terms of like the inventory, the healing, the shields, and everything. So jumping into it, like I definitely want to try out this team deathmatch because I think that really does sound interesting. I think that
Mm-hmm.
sounds really additive to the game on top of a really solid battle royale game. But yeah, I can definitely see myself jumping in and be like, okay, I gotta get myself acclimated here because I feel
Yeah.
like there's just so much new and different
Yeah.
with this game.
Yeah,
But that's
especially
cool.
compared
That
to other ones. Like, that's, like I was just playing. We can talk about it now in a second, but
yeah.
I was just playing Call of Duty Warzone and a little bit of DMC, late last week with a couple of friends for a couple
Mhm.
hours. And, I just re-picked up and turned on Apex that same day, earlier that day. And immediately I'm trying to climb things in that way. I'm trying to slide in certain ways.
Yep.
It's fine. I know that's not the game, but it was just habit. And I'm like, come on, climb. And I couldn't do it. And it's, and
Yep.
whatever, it's fine. It's just not the same game, but I enjoy that part of it. So like jumping from one to the other, there definitely is a big difference there. But I still think it's pretty tight. To me, it feels balanced. It's always sort of been mine. But let's talk about let's talk a little bit about Warzone. Let's talk about some Call of Duty. You've been
Let's
diving
do it.
into that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, like a lot of people know, I Call of Duty Warzone is my battle royale of choice and everything. And last time I talked about it, I think we were just on like the cusp of season 2, the big
Mhm.
overhaul for Warzone 2, or just before it or after. I can't really remember. So I just the new Reloaded update, the mid-season update, just came out today actually. So I thought, it's just a good time to kind of touch base with the game, kind of see like where it is, because I know that Warzone 2, Modern Warfare 2 has had its issues in terms of balancing, in terms of stuff that they took away from the core Warzone experience that used to be there with Warzone 1 and then didn't carry over. It was just slightly tweaked in weird ways.
Mhm.
Um, but throughout the last month or so, I've grown to really appreciate the changes that they've made
Okay.
because I feel like
It sounded like you might have gone the other way, but okay.
no, I do. But the problem is because it just feels like there's been so much wasted time, because
Mm.
it feels like, this Warzone 2 came out right after Modern Warfare 2, and it was like, okay, we're going to introduce backpacks, we're going to introduce an inventory system, we're going to slow down the movement, we're going to do this and that and everything. The economy of like buy or getting cash and spending it at buy stations to buy your loadout versus buying loadout drops and everything. It was like, okay, we're doing a lot here to make Call of Duty Warzone feel different from Apex Legends and Fortnite, which I feel like you inherently have to do in order to
Sure.
survive.
Absolutely. They all have to do their own thing. Otherwise, what's the point? Yeah.
100%. But it got to a point where now it just felt like Call of Duty wasn't even Call of Duty anymore, like the Warzone experience. So
Gotcha.
season 2 really hit a point where it's like, okay, let's scale it all back. Let's introduce, consistent loadout drops. Let's get rid of the backpack system in Warzone specifically, scale back the inventory system so you're not spending your time like within a menu to choose stuff and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like we're slowly at a point where things have started getting a lot better. I think the introduction of Resurgence and Ashika Island, the new smaller map,
Yeah.
great addition. I love that
That's
map.
what we were playing. Yeah, we
Yeah,
were playing that.
I'm in love with this map. I think that's really great from just a level design perspective. The momentum of the game feels really nice. The chaos of just like the rebirth and just having like players spawn back in after a set amount of time, as long as someone on the team is there. I think it's chaotic. I love that stuff. So I think that's a huge win. And I think all around, I mean, you look at El Mazra and Ashika Island, both of them, the maps are really solid. It's just the gameplay kind of needs a little bit of fine tuning, but I think we're getting there. They're making appropriate changes. Now they added the redeploy balloons that used to be there in Caldera, but then for some reason they're like, actually, we'll get rid of them. I was like, you already had them. Why? Like, you're making more work for yourself. I'm not a developer, but it feels like you're making more work for yourself. It's just very strange. They made very strange decisions with this transition, but I feel like slowly reintroducing these things that people got used to with the original Warzone, bring it back in and just start adding things instead of feeling like we're just like slowly regaining things we already had as if those are new things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're more tapped into like the community around it because you play it more, not more seriously, but you just play it more and everything. Does it feel like some of the changes are too little too late? Does it seem like even just in the last 5-6 months, it's changed too much and some people have dropped off? Or does it feel like it's like, okay, well, they're introducing it back and it's just enough to keep some people in?
I feel like part of it is too little too late, because I feel like there was such a zeitgeist when you look at the golden era, quote unquote, of Warzone, when you were in the Verdansk days. Like, people were popping off for this game. It was, overshadowing Apex, overshadowing Fortnite of all things and everything. And then then it was just like the slow trickle effect where it's like, okay, now here's, Caldera. Okay, that map was atrocious. In all honesty, it just didn't work. And then they started introducing like weird balancing and mechanics. And then the transition over to Warzone 2 was like, okay, now we're on like this downhill slope of what the community, what the narrative is for Call of Duty and its battle royale. So I feel like we're slowly, like, now we've hit like the inverse where we're going back up little by little. But I mean, you even look at season 2 Reloaded, which is usually, the mid-season update. That's where we get some map changes, we get some balancing and everything. On the multiplayer side, they are doing a lot of great things, introducing new maps, introducing the new 6v6 map. That's really cool and everything.
Okay.
And
Nice.
then Warzone, we're getting a Shredder skin. And
I mean, I love me some Ninja Turtles, but
dude, the skin is
it looks sharp.
It looks really good.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what are we doing? Like, okay, yeah, I'll give you my $25, but you have to earn it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to love this game, and for some reason, Call of Duty just makes it so difficult to like I really do. Like, I'm not even trying to like be like, an apologist or a shill for Activision or Call of Duty or anything like that. I legitimately love the game from like a core gameplay community thing. I love the community. I love the game, and they make it so damn hard for me to be like, yes, they've done it, because they just make really weird decisions. They put emphasis on weird, like, that's the thing is like season 2 Reloaded feels underwhelming to me because they've spent the last 4 months trying to catch up to where they should have been. We should be playing this game. The state of the game right now is what it should have been on day one.
Right.
And then it should have been, okay, let's add this to the map. Let's change this. It's like, okay, maybe by season 3, we're going to get some of this additive stuff. I am hopeful. I'm optimistic for that, because I see some of like the season 3, rumors and leaks that they're adding ranked mode, like a very competitive style for Warzone. I think that's awesome. I think adding that kind of thing will do a really big boom. Will be a big boom for the community. I think that'll attract a lot of players. But yeah, I feel like we've just wasted a lot of time
Hmm.
catching up to the point where we're now like at a really solid state. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and it's more than just hey, why did you change so much? It should have just been what it was, because you need to make something different. Obviously, there's a
Sure,
new engine, there's new maps.
of
The
course.
maps, even with minimal experience like myself, I always find the maps to be great. I like
Yep.
the way that they're situated. I like the verticality of a lot of
Mhm.
it. I just think it just feels right. Whether we were playing the Rebirth stuff the other day or Resurgence, or just a regular one, or just going to DMC like or DMZ,
Yeah.
it was fine. Like they all work. They seem to work and stuff. But it's, I guess what you're saying is it's more than just like, why did you take away the stuff that was in the previous one, as to like it's more than that. I guess it's more of like a feeling of what the game is rather
Yeah.
than just mechanics, I guess. But I don't know, maybe they just needed time to add stuff because of the engine. I don't know what it was, or re-enter stuff because of the engine. I don't know. I mean, they want to have it released with the game or very
Of
close to
course.
when
Yeah.
the game. So I guess there's that, but a little bit more time in the kitchen, I guess, or the oven, or
Yeah. I
on the
don't know.
stove top, or like.
Wherever they're cooking, it felt like, yeah, it might have just needed more time. Again, I'm not a developer, so I don't know how easy some of that stuff
Yeah,
could have
sure.
transitioned over. But I mean, even the DMZ stuff, when they launched it in, they even called it the DMZ beta. I was like, okay, it's going to be early. I'm
Yep.
cool with that.
Yep.
I did think that some of like the mode has a lot of potential and still does to this day. But even at day one going into it, I was like, this is a lot of fun. The gameplay loop of
Yeah,
going
I thought
through
so too.
tracks, getting extracting, weapon skins and stuff. That's really cool. And then season two comes and they're like, we're just gonna wipe your entire progress. I was like, guys, what
I
are we
know. I
doing?
didn't understand that. Like,
I was like,
again, we're
for the
not the developers. We don't know if that's necessary, but it feels like a step that I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know, because I haven't looked into the reasons that they gave. But
they
to
didn't.
me, they didn't. Okay, well,
No, and that's the thing. It's like I would be totally cool with them having done that if
yeah,
day one they were like, "Hey, listen, we are a beta, so this
right,
means that as seasons go, we're going to be wiping progress, we're going to be adding fundamental things." But I invested a lot of time into DMZ, and then as soon
sure,
as season two hit and they wiped the slate clean, I was like, I'm not touching this for a while until I get the insurance from Call of
right,
Duty, be like, we're in a state where things will carry over now.
right. Well,
And
that's
and that
that's
sucks because I
exactly.
love DMZ. I think that's a really cool thing, but I have no incentive to play it now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I was just like, oh, it wiped it. I mean, that sucks for the people, like some of the people that I play with, that their stuff is gone. For me, I didn't really care. I had like 5 things. I'm like, oh
Right.
shit, my gun. I don't know the difference anyway. I haven't like really got a feel for all of it anyway. It's like, I know what a
Yeah.
submachine gun is, but other than that, I don't know the difference between all the assault rifles, and I'll figure it out when I play, and that's it. So, but I'm not the target, right? And that's
Right.
and that's fine. So for me, it didn't matter. But largely, the majority of the people that are playing, it felt like a shitty step that they had to go through and everything.
Yeah.
So, but at least they're getting there. Ultimately, at least they're getting there. I hope for someone like yourself who continues to play it, it continues to improve, and
I hope
that's
so.
really what we want. I hope they don't lose you. I'm hopeful that they won't,
Yeah.
but
No, I think I'll still consistently play like my once a week thing with with my group of friends and everything. But I just hope that it can get to a really good state for the community, because I think that the Call of
right,
Duty community is really great. I love the community, and when they're positive, they're really positive, and I think a lot of good things can come from that.
yeah.
Just we need to get back to those good old days, and just
Yeah,
bring back
when it
Verdansk,
was firing on all cylinders, like you said, like I guess about 2 to 2.5 years ago, when it was like
Yeah,
really the peak of it, I was all in too. I loved it, and I want it to be that. I might be a
right.
little bit past Call of Duty in general personally, and I'll just play it when I jump on with friends and stuff. But like, I still want that feeling back, even if
Yeah.
I'm not playing it multiple times a week like we were when we were all forced to stay home for a couple years,
And,
essentially.
and that's just it. Like, not to go off on too big of a tangent, but I mean, just this past week was the 3-year anniversary of
Oh
Call
yeah,
of Duty
right,
Warzone. Like when
right.
they just dropped it kind of out of nowhere, everyone kind of popped off for it. It did come at a time when the world did shut down. Just days into COVID, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and I got really nostalgic for that. I was like, man, like what a great I mean, I say that in relative
quote
terms.
unquote
What
great.
a
Yeah.
great, moment in time that was, outside of the realities and, crushing depression that
Yeah.
COVID
Yeah.
brought onto us. But it was like a cool little, I compare it to like Animal Crossing, where it was this cathartic thing where, at least for me
Yeah.
and my friends, we got on, like, socialized, we kept in touch with each other every week consistently because of this game. And it's like,
Dude,
okay,
at the time, I'll tell you how desperate I was to play a game like this, and others, but a game like
yeah,
this was, we were moving out of our condo at the time and selling it, so we just weren't living in it. And instead, we lived in my parents' basement for a couple months.
oh,
I
okay,
grabbed my PC and whatever, I took it with me, and they don't really have a place to put a gaming center. Like, they have space in their house for that, but I'm not going to do it in the room right next to their bedroom.
sure.
So to do it on the other side of the house and to do it somewhat in peace, I was playing and had this thing hooked up in their furnace room, and I was
Amazing.
playing my PC and playing Warzone at 2 a.m. in their furnace room.
I love that. I love that. But
and
yeah,
it was
that's what
and it was
everyone
totally
had to
worth
do.
it was
Yeah.
totally worth it, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we all needed at that time. And I get nostalgic for that
Yeah.
moment in time, only because of like the good times like me and my friends had. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just don't want to see that go away for the community, because I know that so many other people had those same
Yeah,
experiences,
yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know how many people were desperate enough to set things up in their parents' furnace room, but you know what? Hey, maybe the people, I would be
Maybe.
playing and people are like, "What's that noise? Your air conditioning is really loud." I'm like, "No, no, no. It's just my parents' furnace, literally
Yeah, it
2
just
feet
kicked
from me.
in,
That's what I'm doing."
keeping them warm while
Yeah,
I'm over
keeping
here.
them while I'm freezing on the concrete floor here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else you been playing? I think you looks like you put a couple more minutes into Wolong, or not so
I
much.
did. I
Oh, you
did.
did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. And yeah, because I was kind of mixed last week. I was like, you know what? I
Hmm.
really like the gameplay of Wolong, Fallen Dynasty, but I'm hitting my head against the wall going through some of these bosses. I think we both kind of agree that some of the bosses, it just felt like, we're pressing B just for the sake of pressing B. There's no
Yeah.
real incentive or real hook to some of these enemies. And I will say that ever since, getting past that second boss I really had a gripe with, and kind of going through and progressing through the game, I am slowly getting into it more and more.
Okay. Good.
Again,
Good.
I really do appreciate the game's mechanics and kind of the synergy between this kind of like Neo esque game and Sekiro, like the kind of melding between the two. I really do like it. It's funny. I think like a couple days ago, at the time we were recording this, I put out a tweet. I was like, "There's this boss. His name is Lu Bu, and he's this massive guy, and he rides around a horse. And I swear, to what we were talking about last week, it did feel like a spam B kind of parry deflect, just
Okay.
until you chip damage over time and everything. And it got to a point where I was like, I don't like. I think that this boss is going to be the one that breaks me. And again, we're talking about, positivity of community members and stuff like that. There were so many people that like jumped in to that Twitter thread of being like, "Oh, work on your fortitude. Bring reinforcements, because you can tap in reinforcements up to 2, whether it's online or like AI. Bring them in with you and everything." And within an hour, I know relative that's a long grind, but I was able to actually beat it. And
Right.
um, it felt really satisfying, just like any kind of like Souls like boss does.
Yeah.
And right after that, I kind of felt like this reinvigoration for the game. I was like, okay, let's go to the next one. Boom, boom, boom. And now I'm progressing at like a very steady rate. I feel like I finally got to a point where now I'm leveling up consistently. I'm feeling that level then translate to how I'm able to attack enemies, defend myself, and stuff like that. Like, I finally feel the
The
skill
flow
gap
of
go
it
up.
and everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the flow of it. I feel myself getting better at the game inherently. Like, my
Nice.
timing's better, my
Nice.
parries are better. So again, I don't know if I'm gonna have the wherewithal to finish the game, but now at least I feel like I can actually handle myself
Yeah.
relative. At least I'm having fun, which is something that, like, I was about 50-50 on last week
Yeah.
when I was talking about the game. So
But that's improved at least.
it's improved again. Yeah, by the time, I'm putting in maybe like an hour and a half every night or something, slowly progressing through a level or two. So we'll see where I am at when Resident Evil 4 comes out, or there are other games like on the horizon that I'm really looking forward to. I mean, Diablo, the beta's coming this
Yeah.
weekend, so I'm playing nothing but that. So sorry. So yeah, we'll see how much longer I actually last with this game, but I'm really enjoying it. I think Team Ninja did put out a really good game. It's just not 100% a Steve game, but
Right.
I'm slowly adapting to what they want out of me into this game, just like a lot of Souls games do. Neo was the same way, where it took me a long time to kind of get into the feel and rhythm of that game.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm feeling a little more positive. I feel like, especially it being on Xbox Game Pass right now, go out and play it. Give it a try. I know that even you, Dave, you got until the first boss, and you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll come back later. It's not for me right now. And I think everyone should kind of give it that
Yeah,
first
I
like
think you
trial
should
run.
you should at least give it that first hour, 45 minutes, whatever it takes to kind of
Exactly.
get through a first couple honestly probably failed runs of the first boss, and then see how that feels. I haven't gone
Yeah.
back to it, but I haven't uninstalled it either, which always gives me sort of like slight hope that I'm going to hit play
Yeah.
again or hit the A button again to open it. So I might get there, but like you said, there's stuff to look forward to pretty soon. I don't think it's at the top of the list, but it's definitely not at the bottom of the list either, because I can see what's there. Again, like we talked about last week, and like you've just been saying, it's there's moments there that for sure are shining lights on what they've made here and what they've provided to you.
Yeah.
And it's encouraging for me to hear that you feel like you're getting better at the game, and not just, hey, my attack and defense stats are higher. Like you
Right.
actually feel like you are playing the game and learning as you go. That's always a bonus for games that are very difficult like this.
Yeah.
I love that that's the case, and it's not just based on, hey, I need to grind leveling up and my numbers are just higher. Like there's more to it than that, and that's great. I think that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
all right, well, I'll let you know if or when I get back to it.
Yeah. Maybe in a year from now, you'd be like, hey, Steve, remember
Either
that
way,
Wolong game?
yeah, or even
Finally
it's
beat
gonna
the
pop
first
up on.
boss.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'll make it just a little bit past in that second
Yeah.
second stage of the first boss. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So let's touch on a couple of news items. Nothing
Sure.
that's major. I think it hasn't been a crazy week for news, and we haven't touched on too much news in the last couple of
Yeah.
episodes. But this one interests me because I think that Overwatch 2 has took a lot of my time in the fall and earlier this year. I've really enjoyed the way that it plays. I think I talked about it before, how I really like how when you play one of the modes where you're forced to do 2 healers, 1 tank, and to attack, I think that that's a great way to sort of make it feel like a MOBA,
Mhm.
a MOBA that they let go, Heroes of the Storm, that I wish they would just keep improving, but they will not. So the news here is that on a Overwatch Twitch stream this week, one of the executive producers of Overwatch 2 responded to someone in the chat that's asked, when are we getting PvE news? And yeah, this is sort of like, I feel like, oh, it's news about a tweet, but it's actually an answer from the developer and something that they actually said that they're going to be doing soon. And we haven't heard anything about PvE in months. I mean, one of the draws of Overwatch 2 was not only that it's free to play, but the fact that they're going to do more than just online play. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm not like really into the lore type of thing. I like the characters. I like that they all have personality. They all act different. They bounce off each other when you're playing with and against each other with the voiceover.
Right.
I think that's all a lot of fun. But I don't really care what their backstories are. Like it doesn't really interest me. So I don't know if the PvE has any of that, but maybe it would get me more interested in that. Finally, in this clip, very short clip, this guy is saying, let me get his exact name here. Oh, geez. Jared Noose, I want to say. Jared Noose,
Sounds,
or
yeah, yeah, it looks
N
newsy.
N
Yeah.
E U S S. Noose. Anyways, he says in the clip that they are talking about or planning when to release news about PvE. So it's a step before a step. It's sort of like a trailer of a trailer.
Right.
But in his words, he says it's not going to be, quote, Blizzard soon. It's going to be Jared soon, and this guy's name is Jared.
Ooh, we are. What I will say, Andy is probably freaking out right now. What I will
No,
say is
not at
that
all.
we are currently planning the time where we're going to talk about it, which will be. I've said this before. It will be soon, and I actually do mean
Blizzard
it'll be,
soon,
it'll
I
be pretty
see.
soon. Not Blizzard soon. Jared soon, which is a different thing.
So Blizzard soon to me is years from now or months
Right.
from now, right? I think that's
Yep.
what the joke is. So we'll see what Jared soon really means, but at least they've somewhat addressed it or said that it's going to be coming somewhat soon. So I don't know what that means. Maybe it's going to mean in a month. Maybe it's going to mean in 2 months. I don't know. Does this tickle your fancy at all, Steve? Or
Uh, I don't want to say no. The thing is like,
but also
I'm
not really.
let me back that up. So I'm not a huge Overwatch person, only because it is or has become so focused on that PvP multiplayer side of it, and it's because it's very hero based and stuff like that. I'm not 100% into that. Like I've played a lot of Overwatch. I've tried to get into Overwatch, but it's just keeping up with the balancing of different characters. You're almost, pigeonholed into these like quote unquote like classes or roles and stuff like that. I like a more freeform thing, which is why Call of Duty is my
Right.
especially like that's kind of like been my aversion with Apex Legends. Like unless you have like a solid team build like consistently like with everyone there, it just doesn't work, and that's kind of been my problem with Overwatch as well. That
Sure.
being said, though, if it's PvE, that and it does bring in some of like the lore or story elements in there, I can see myself kind of getting into this a lot more, just because you are getting more additive content just by way of playing it versus, oh, we won, we lost, which I don't really care about
Sure.
as a passive Overwatch fan and player. I really like the characters. I find them all very endearing, whether it's the personality traits or just how they look. I think Blizzard did a really good job in designing these characters, designing the world, making it look really intriguing. It's just that the gameplay just isn't there for me
Yeah,
in terms
fair
of.
enough.
But in terms of a PVE mode, I like that. I like that. I think that I don't know about you. I'm not really in touch with like the Overwatch community now, but it just feels like a lot of the player base is kind of quiet, and I wonder if a PvE mode is something that will get a lot more people talking about this game, because I feel like right now everyone that likes Overwatch is just playing Overwatch, not really talking
Right.
about it or celebrating big things. They're just kind of there doing their thing, which is great. I love that, but I just don't hear people like me, for instance, kind of going online and talking about, ooh, this thing is coming down the horizon. Maybe that will be the thing that brings me in. This could be that thing that gets more people outside of that bubble talking about Overwatch and maybe
Yeah.
getting into Watch after, maybe dropping off of Overwatch 1 and not really putting in time with Overwatch 2, because I haven't really put in all that much time into
Yeah.
the
No,
series.
fair enough. And you know what? I think that's it brought in a lot of new people, but a lot of people that had a decent amount of experience with Overwatch 1 maybe gave it a shot and was like, "Oh, well, this kind of feels the same."
Yeah.
And it does kind of feel the same. I think it's still very tight. I think it plays really, really well. I like class systems. Like, to me, that stuff is at least a draw. Whether it works or not is another discussion. You just sort of see how that particular game goes and everything. I
Right.
think part of the discussion is not that different from what you were talking about with Call of Duty with Overwatch 2, is that like it was big at the beginning because now we have a new game, we have a new character, we have new maps.
Yep.
There's a slightly different way to play it. I mean, I think DMZ is a much bigger change than just sort of doing certain classes, required classes in Overwatch 2, but it still changes the balance of the game, which I think was a good thing. But since then, it feels like I'm not super tapped in, but I'm tapped in enough to know that there's disappointment with how each season is being released,
Right.
because the rewards of each battle pass do not seem like enough to get you in. Really, the draw is to get the new hero slightly sooner along the battle pass, and to me, that's not a draw, and that sucks because also when you get to the end of the battle pass, like we've talked about with Marvel Snap, you're not really earning what you think you're going to earn in order to keep the battle pass rotation going. And that is the point of it. I think that's the draw. I mean, that's why I always got the battle passes for Apex, because one, I like the skins that they had introduced and everything, but then now if I made it to the end, I can get the next one. And like, you know, season 3, which I think is the current one, there was no new hero. So that's already like a down for them. They had 2 seasons in a row with new heroes. That's fun. And they're cool and they're fun to play with, but they have to do something now, I think, to sort of keep it going. And PvE could be that thing. Maybe it's not for season 4, maybe it's for 5 or 6, but at least that's within the next few months. And I think that's what they're going to need to do to keep people like myself to go back, because I like the game and it was fun to play with people, but I also haven't picked it up in over a month now because, and I had no incentive to get the battle pass, because I was like, as long as I get that hero, I don't care. That's fine. That's all I really want. I don't care about us, not even like skins, but like an emote that I'm never going to use. Like I don't care about that. I'm not going to give you $15 or whatever it costs to do an emote that I never use because the game's too frantic. Why would I be using an emote in the middle of a thing anyway? Like, you know, those types of things, it doesn't sound right. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Like, so what? Yeah. Oh, I'm doing a dance. Okay. And now I'm dead. You know, like what's the point?
Well, it's so funny you say that. I mean, I think so many of these publishers and development studios could really learn a thing or two about just utilizing a roadmap for its community. I mean, you look at Halo, you look at Call of Duty, Apex, like any of these things. And I feel like so many of them could just use like a roadmap in such a good way. And I don't want to bring it all the way back to Call of Duty again, but one of the things that I do appreciate is that looking at like season 2 Reloaded and everything, a week before they always release like this little like digital asset that kind of just like briefly outlines, you know, what the new multiplayer maps are going to be, what the new gun is going to be.
Infographics, bro.
Exactly. Honestly, I go nuts for that stuff because I always like push through it and I'm like, oh, I love that. Yeah. But I feel like this is something that Overwatch could do. Like if they are planning on PvE, talk about it.
What is it?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't even know what it is. That's part of the problem. We don't even like, okay, yeah, there's going to be bots or there's going to be what, but what is it? What the hell is it? 4-player? Is it 2-player? Is it just single player? Do you have to be connected online? Like, what is it? And we don't even know that, which is, I think, potentially what this news could be, is just a snippet of that. And that might or might not be enough. So anyways,
but I think that would be huge for the community or someone that's outside to be like, oh, okay, maybe there's going to be like an Overwatch presents a Nintendo Direct style thing where it's like, okay, let's talk about it here. Let's do a beta for it the next month. Let's do an official launch the next month and stuff like that. I think, you know, for as much gripe as Halo Infinite gets, they're really good at least targeting different windows and be like, okay, here's season 3. This is what you get. Bam, bam, bam. Another info.
Yeah.
I really love that stuff where it's like, okay, even we're looking into the future and seeing what the community can look forward to. I think that's huge for a game like this.
Yeah. And I think Halo is actually a good point where, like, even though I'm not really playing it anymore, I still see and hear and honestly make note of the things that they've done, because it's easy to find. It's done well. It's whether it's an infographic, bro, or not, or whatever the hell the way. I mean, maybe I'm just following the right people and paying attention to the certain individuals that still play or work on the game, and that's fine. Not everybody does. That's okay. We're kind of tapped in a way that a lot of average players are not. But I don't, even though I am in, you know, wanting to see what Overwatch is doing, I don't see it as much as I do with Halo. No. And I've played Overwatch 2 much more frequently and within the last month compared to Halo, which has been 6 months. So, you know, there is something there. I think you're right. I think like a roadmap thing, whether it's big news or small, just something like little updates, whatever. And it works for all these types of games. It doesn't have to be anything, but something that is Battle Pass related or adjacent and could be free to play, or most often is free to play. I think it matters. You have to, because there's so many choices out there.
100%. And it just goes back to my point where it feels like just not enough people are kind of talking about Overwatch, in my opinion, because going back to our point about Halo Infinite, I feel like I know less people who play that game consistently, but I see more people talk about it
Yes,
consistently, which is
exactly.
the weird thing,
Exactly.
you know,
It's
like
so weird.
I know for a fact more people that I follow play Overwatch, but
Yeah.
yet I never see them talk about it. But then my timeline and like Halo Infinite's new season just dropped like a week or so ago. I don't know
Yep.
the
Yep.
exact date, but I saw people anticipating it, getting into it, being like, "Oh, here are the changes." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Wow, this is great!" And I haven't played Halo in over a year at this point.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, it's
Yeah.
been quite a long time. But I know the majority of the new maps, the new
The
changes,
updates.
the
Yeah.
updates, like the quality of life stuff, and it's like I should know that stuff for Overwatch too, even though I'm an outsider.
Yeah.
But somehow I just don't because I don't see enough people talk about it, or like you said, maybe I'm just not following the right people. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
maybe I think it's a combo of things. I think the
yeah,
general public should still know more about it. People that aren't as tapped in as we are, like the casual, slightly more
right.
casual players, however you want to define it, it should be more available to them. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
But
I
it's
don't know.
cool. I mean, PV down the road. I
Yep.
like that. Maybe sometime in the spring. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll watch it. And really briefly, we don't have to go too deep into this if
Sure.
we don't want to, but it is a little bit of a talker. But
Yeah.
Square Enix has their, I guess, trailer ish of an NFT game. I don't know. I clicked on this trailer. You know, uh, we have the article up at consolecreatures.com and the trailer's attached to it. And I was like, oh, what am I going to see? Not that I'm super interested in an NFT based game, but I saw nothing from this. It's really just here are some graphics, I
Yeah.
guess. If you really want me to get in on this, show me something. I know they talked a little bit more about it. It's more than just a trailer, but about 10,000 collectible artworks meet real game utility. That is what Symbiogenesis will offer, according
Right.
to Square Enix.
Hmm.
It rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
Symbiogenesis. Yep. Leave it to Square Enix to make a name like that. It's a pretty cool name. I'm not gonna lie.
It's unique, at least.
Yeah, it looks cool. It doesn't read cool, to be honest. Like we're finding out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels like Square Enix once again kind of just showed up late to a party and was like, "Hey guys, have you heard of NFTs? They're going to be the next big thing." And everyone's like, "Man, I don't know." That was such like a 2022 thing. We're on this other bullshit at this point. Like,
Yeah.
um,
I don't know.
yeah,
I guess I wanted to mention it because it was like they're going for it, and I think
they
a
are.
lot of people are. Look, you could be into NFTs and crypto and all these types of things that sort of come along with that. I guess community is one way of saying it.
Sure.
But I think for the average gamer, which is I think they're kind of trying to go for at least some people who are tapped in more like ourselves and
Mhm.
average gamers, what this means, what you could do with it, the possibilities. I understand that approach. But they need to prove that this is worth anyone's time and money, because otherwise, you know, it doesn't matter whether they call it NFT or they had some other name that they came up with it for this
Right.
game specifically. If they do something interesting and it seems like it's worth your time and money, then okay, I am open to ideas. I don't need to be into the broader version of what an NFT might mean. But if this game or this community is something that I find interesting, then okay, then that's fine. I just need to see that first before they say on March 17th, the first 30,000 customers receive a free NFT, whatever that means in this game.
Right.
So fine, I
Yeah.
guess. But
And,
yeah.
and I think that's the big problem, especially for Square Enix, for pursuing, symbiogenesis and NFTs at the same time, is that it feels like they're putting the cart ahead of the horse here.
Mm-hmm.
Where again, I don't buy into NFTs. I think, especially in gaming, they don't really have a place. They're unproven. A lot of it's just very early, and you're not gonna. It feels irrational to think that a game like Symbiogenesis is going to be the game that sells us on this,
Right.
because of the simple fact that they have 10,000 collectible pieces of artwork based on characters of this game. Who gives a shit? I've never seen these characters before.
I
I've
know.
never seen this IP before. Like I feel like if they really wanted to go all in, where's the Final Fantasy? Where's the
Yes.
Kingdom Hearts? Like
Yes.
Okay, yeah, Kingdom Hearts is probably a stretch because Disney would have to approve of that. But
But
we're,
as an example, that type of thing. Yeah.
exactly, like a character that I know I love and stuff like that. Again, this is coming from someone who does not see themselves ever buying an NFT. But if there was ever going to be a day where I do, it would be for a character or an asset or something that I treasure,
At
right?
least to
It's
get you in, at least to try to
exactly.
get you started. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. My very first one is gonna be like a Master Chief NFT of him doing
Sure.
something cool, you know? It's not gonna be, "Here's Jeremy from Symbiogenesis on a farm." I don't know any of these characters, I don't know the world, it's very unproven. What happens if I buy an NFT of this game and this game comes out and it's just not good? Like, then I'm
Or if it
sitting on an
is,
NFT on a game that's been panned and the community dies out, like,
well,
I just
that's
don't understand it.
yeah, because it inevitably is it's got to be a live service game, or at least some sort of live service,
Right.
because an NFT is attached to digital and a
Mhm.
digital currency or a digital version of currency or whatever. So like, if this goes away, like many games do over time, even if it's in 5 years, what happens?
Right.
My $10, $5, 50 cents, it doesn't matter. Is it just lost in the ether? I think you have an understanding that with certain games, like if it shuts down, like if when the current Call of Duty shuts down, your skins are not available because in 5 years that game's not running anymore. I think that's just you're aware of that's how it works. But
Exactly.
an NFT type of approach is ownership, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea. So how do you have an ownership over something when you don't own the system itself that it's working within? Like, it's very confusing how they
Yeah.
might want to do that. So they have to sort of address those things. I don't think we're here to shit on anybody that is into having NFTs and owning them and
No.
being within that. It's not really about that. It's more like within the gaming community and our sort of hesitation towards if this is really the way we want things to go. And we'll see. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be one of those we'll see, but I don't think it's going to be like we have to get in.
No,
Let's give it a shot.
and I think that's the big thing is, like, again, I'm being very hard on Square Enix and Symbiogenesis here, only because I think that they are being very premature in this whole thing, because I
Right.
do inherently feel that at some point someone is going to come out with the NFT solution for video games. I think that is inevitable. I think that
Sure.
there will
Yeah.
be like a selling app or platform that does say, okay, here is the Fortnite skin, where if you buy this skin or whatever, it will transfer to another game within a publisher or a studio or something like that. I
Yeah.
think that is inherently very cool.
Sure.
But again, like we can even look at Ubisoft Quartz and everything. Ubisoft wasn't even able to sell the NFT and make it a viable thing. If you bought something in Ghost Recon, I'm still not seeing where that thing transitions over. I don't see the perks of the ownership there. But I think that the the concept, the conceptual basis of, okay, let's have an NFT in a video game. It's a skin, it's a digital asset where you can bring it over to another game. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's just 10, 15, 20 years down the line of when a studio or a group of studios are going to all agree and be like, cool, we're all on board of this. Because until you get another studio that's willing to play ball and bring that same asset
So
over.
much more difficult for it to be a reality. Absolutely.
Exactly. Then
Yeah.
there's no point of it, in my opinion, unless it is, again, a singular thing where it is, a Master Chief doing something cool for me. Um, Again, it's such a time and place thing, but it feels so immature or premature for a Symbiogenesis and Square Enix to come out and be like, we're gonna print 10,000 of these. I was like, do you, Square? Like, I appreciate if you want to go out and do this, but like, yeah, I'm not the customer for this. I know that
Yeah.
someone will be. Good luck.
We'll see. We'll see.
That's it. Yeah.
And on a more positive note, within the next week, we will have some Diablo 4 to
Oh
talk
my god.
about.
Oh
So that is what we can look forward to, and other people
yeah.
can look forward to that are going to have a chance to play it, and we will definitely be talking about it. I think that's going to take up our entire weekend, which is fantastic.
I wouldn't have it any other way, my
I
friend.
know, right, dude? Ever since we knew that the betas were coming out and we had to confirm dates and whatever, the last 2 weeks I've just been like, that's what I want to play. I know it's limited. I know things are going to be reset, and
That's fine.
only. But I don't. For some reason that doesn't bother me this time. I just want to play it, and that's it. So
I want, I want to get those unlocks and just spend, the weekend playing and everything. It's funny because like I also had this weekend is Toronto Comic Con, so
yes,
I'm like, okay, what am I fitting in my schedule? I'm like, okay, I'll go to the con for this amount of time. That leaves me, the night, and then the next day I'm gonna go all in on this game. Like I'm
because you
really
gotta.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think I gotta do. I think my slight commitment might be 2 characters maxing out. I think I'm gonna realistically try to do that.
Nice.
I don't know how long it's gonna take, so that's my
Yeah, that's the big
goal.
thing. Yeah,
That's the other thing. They didn't really say, and that's fine because everyone plays at their own pace and everything too. They're not going to like give you a time. But that's my goal because I want to get a good handle on multiple characters just to see what they have, to see what they offer and stuff. So, so we'll be talking about that next week. But until then, Steve, where are we keeping track of you?
Yeah, everyone can keep an eye on me and everything that I'm doing online at Asfigvari across the internet. Just type it in. You can probably find me there.
Amazing. Easy peasy, sir.
Yep.
Find out all our work at consolecreatures.com as well. And until that time, everyone, we will see you with some Diablo 4 talk next week. Bye.
Bye.